for the interview if you want to do it.
Sure, it's gonna be really easy whenever you're ready. I'm gonna do a little intro presenting the radio show, and I'm going to do introduce yourself whenever you're ready, my friend.
Sure, go ahead, man.
Hell yeah, welcome for the first time to our Quebec radio show, Prescription Punk Rock. It's a huge honor. I'm going to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jay Navarro from the Suicide Machines.
Jay, welcome to Prescription Punk Rock. We're 15 years later from the latest release. The album is done, it's released. How you feel?
Feeling good, man. I feel like it's maybe probably the second best album we've ever done. So I'll take it this many years down the road, you know.
You know, I did a review and I wrote it that record feel it's like the first records you guys released. It's freshy. It seems that you took your time and you had fun, and the chemistry and the vibe from the record is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, dude, I feel like the vibe was really a big part of it, you know. We got really lucky. Things went well in the studio, and it was like the right people and just like the right time, I guess, you know. It doesn't happen too often, at least in my world, when it comes to making records, you know, so.
Is it more hard now or more easy than back in the days to do a record?
It is easier just because of experience. That's all. You know what I mean? I would say it's harder to write songs that are meaningful to us, but as far as the mechanics of it, that's easier.
And you know, when you release War Profiteering is Killing Us All, it was 15 years ago, and a lot have changed in the scene, in the mentality. You guys are back in a couple of years. You did a couple of reunion shows, but how you felt the scene right now?
The scene in Detroit is all I can really speak on, man, because that's kind of where I'm from and that's where I know it. I would say it's pretty small in Detroit. It's very personal in Detroit, and everyone definitely knows each other and kind of takes care of each other here. So that's kind of how Detroit is. I can't really talk about anywhere else, you know what I mean, because I don't necessarily know, you know.
I think we're at a kind of interesting time with the crash of the industry. You know, punk rock has came back mainstream. There's not much money left out there, and I think the band are doing it. Most of the band are doing it for the right reasons. And there's a new generation of new band. People still our age, but still new crazy band. And I think we're at a good time with ska and punk and hardcore.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I think there's a lot of new bands that are doing it. They're pretty excellent. I mean, honestly, it's probably some of the best ska I've ever heard in years, that's for sure. You know, same goes, there's some great new, you know, punk bands for sure too, but I kind of think like maybe you're right, like there is no money, so people are really kind of doing it for, you know, because they believe in it or the love of it, you know. And, you know, in our case, it's not our job, I guess you could say. Like, we don't do this for a living, so to us, like, we kind of don't really exist in that world anyways. You know what I mean? Like, we don't, I don't know. It's not our job, man. We all got jobs. We've all been working for, you know, 13, 14, 15 years, you know. So, I mean, maybe that's the pressure as to why the album turned out decent as well, you know. It's not a job, so there's no pressure on that at all. So maybe it is natural and it's something that we're doing because we want to. The same goes for a lot of other out there. Like you said, there's not really any money in it, so they must be doing it because they love it. Yeah, that's definitely how it is, at least in our camp right now, you know what I mean? Like I said, none of us, you know, we're not going to be doing this for a living, you know what I mean? We're not really capitalizing on our band as income, so to speak. I'm not saying that other people that are doing it are dishonest. I'm just saying that it was easier for us to I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say. Like, we did something that there was no pressure of us worrying about anything but what we wanted to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you did the record you guys wanted to release. not like to please
Yep.
somebody else. It's for you guys, and it's not an egocentric thing to do as a band or as a musician. It's important that what you do and what you release is something that you're proud and that make you feel better.
Yeah, yeah, man. And it's like you said though. There's a lot of other bands out there that maybe it is their living, especially some of the newer bands. But I don't think it's any dishonest. Some of the things they've created too. I mean, look at I could say like look at our label mates. Pairs, or Bad Cop. They're doing very honest, records. I don't think that them maybe counting on this as their job has anything to do with it, but just our case, it really wasn't. So, you know what I mean? Like, we just did it how long it took us and how we wanted. I don't know. I think there's a weird honesty, like you said right now, because there is no money in it.
No, if a band think it's gonna make it big, sorry, bro, ain't gonna happen now.
Yeah, I know, man. I think a lot of people, like, coming, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe it's not a generational thing, or maybe it is a generational thing. I think that some bands who start up these days think that they're going to be big or something, or that that's their focus, and that's not that that's wrong. It's just a little bit different from, someone like me who's been playing shows since like 87, 88, where I never thought I'd ever be talking to you, you know what I mean, in 2020. Like, it's not, you didn't set out to be that way. I think a lot of people didn't set out to be that way, But maybe nowadays people do try to set out to make a band as a career. It's a little bit, that idea I think has shifted a little bit in punk rock,
It's true. It's true. Do you remember the first show you did?
The very first show I ever played, I unfortunately wasn't cool enough to play in a punk band because, I don't know, I was like the nerdy fucking little kid that skateboarded with long hair, you know what I mean? In like ninth grade, and so a bunch of these dudes in this metal band let me play bass for a metal band, Intravenous de Milo, and then shortly after, a punk band in Detroit took pity on me and actually brought me into their camp and let me play with them. So I would say 1988, I think, was the first show I ever played, playing bass for a metal band, or 87 or 88, something like that. And I played for a lot of punk and hardcore bands around the same time.
That's cool. I always am formerly a metalhead because when I was in high school and at the end of my primary, I was really into metal, and maybe in college, since all my friends were into punk and ska, I started to listen more to punk and ska. But I think that the best musicians out there are people that are open-minded. But man, being in a metal band in the 80s must be rad because there was so much going on in the scene.
Oh, it was fun, man. We covered, we covered Death.
Shit.
Weird, because Death was still a band at the time, so it's kind of weird that we covered a band that's still a band. But yeah, we covered like Zombie Ritual by the band Death and stuff like that,
That's pretty rad because those bands were not legendary as now, They were like maybe smaller and everything, so like doing a cover was not something everybody goes for.
Oh yeah, 100%, man. Like, no matter what, I kind of always still would buy metal albums. Like, I remember buying the very first Obituary album,
Yeah.
I still had friends who were metalheads, so I was hanging out with them too when I was in a punk. And I do like a lot of old metal. I remember, like, on a whim buying Sepultura Beneath the Remains because of an ad in Thrasher Skateboard magazine for that record, So I definitely still kind of kept in touch a little bit with what was going on in that world as far as still buying records that were coming out by metal bands,
And I think you always bring that to Suicide Machine, and I think that's the curiosity and some intense riff that you guys have, even if there was a lot of ska back in the days, and on the new records there's a lot of heavy stuff, and it's cool because it's very well built, and it's a well balanced.
Yeah, thank you. Well, a lot of that had to do with like coming, being a native of Detroit. Like, you got to think like we have bands like Negative Approach here, and that is something that most of us will hear in this city. If you listen to hardcore punk, you're going to hear Negative Approach before you even probably hear, or at least in the 80s, before you'd ever even hear, Agnostic Front or Sick of It All. You're going to hear the local band, and so like when it comes to like the pissed off stuff, a lot of it had to do with growing up around Negative Approach here.
And Detroit have so much culture. I mean, rap was intense, metal, punk, everything. Man, it's just there's so much, everything collide together, and it's beautiful because it brings, way more open mind, as I mentioned, and I think as a musician it brings a lot in the music, and I think that's why the scene is so diverse and maybe weird in a way.
Yeah, no, it's weird. Like that was the thing. Like we had bands like up in Flint, which is a part of Michigan. It's maybe 45 minutes from Detroit. You had like Repulsion. There'd be no blast beats or grindcore if there was no Repulsion. You know what I mean? Like, well, there's a good chance there would be, yet. But that's, where the blast beat, began. So we were just used to like, I think back in Detroit, everyone back then played with everyone. So you get a ska band with a metal band or a hardcore band or a punk band or a noise band. You know what I mean? Like, it was all punk. It was all kind of the same flag in Detroit. A bunch of fucking weirdos.
I knew. But it's a cool scene.
Yeah, no, thank you. Just a bunch of fucking lunatics, at least back then. Now it's a little different, but there's definitely still weirdos, lunatic, criminal element still to, stuff in Detroit for sure.
You maybe don't remember, we catch each other last time you came in Montreal with Streetlight Manifesto, and that was cool because the release was about, you were about to mention the release date for new records, and man, that show, it was amazing to see you guys again. You never forget about Montreal.
Yeah, Montreal was a blast, man. One of the wildest shows I ever played ever was probably Montreal. One of the biggest shows I've ever played was Montreal. It was like us, West, and Jake and Sub. It was one of the hugest shows I've ever seen in my life. I remember pulling to the venue thinking, how the hell are we going to fit this? How are we going to fill this up? Because it's so big. It was that outdoor stage, kind of like where they do Warped Tour every now and then. I don't know the name of it, I'm sorry. You kind of drive down into it, but outdoor stage, it was us and Rick and Sub, and it was like seriously one of the biggest shows I've ever seen, just for 3 bands,
And I think Montreal, it's not like Detroit. It's
Quebec City.
Yeah, it's different.
It's right around that area, though.
But I think people are we love every style of music, and back at the end of the 90s, there was. There was not people were not, they were trying things, and they didn't find their identity in music. Maybe not proud or something, I don't know, but, since the 90s, since you guys came and everything, we just find our sound, and now, we have the metal scene, rap and punk scene, and that's cool. That's kind of vibe Montreal got, and I think that maybe the similar thing between Detroit and Montreal is now, band going to every direction.
Well, I can tell you, Montreal is definitely like Detroit too. It's kind of dirty. I like it.
It's fucking, that's the difference between Quebec City and Montreal. Quebec City is more European style, more quiet.
Yeah, right, and it's kept up, kind of, and there's parts of, 100%, dude, reminds me a little bit of Detroit. You go to Toronto, and Toronto even seems nice, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, just a little dirty. I dig it.
Yeah, and all different mentality, but...
I'm not trying to insult anyone. That's actually a compliment, trust me.
Jason, we're at a weird time right now, so the question about how's going to be the rest of the year is kind of weird to ask, but, when this ends, I really hope you guys will came with that new records around Quebec, because we're waiting for you guys.
I hope so too, man. We had to turn down Pouzza Fest this year, so maybe... which obviously it's not even happening now, is it?
No, they canceled it, I think, last week.
Yeah, that sucks. I love Hugo, man. Maybe this following year when it airs back up, we'll come down and do that or something, because that's always a blast. But regardless, dude, we'll we'll be out playing. We just gotta wait for this whole thing. There's an end time to it. It's a pretty easy virus to kill. They just gotta figure out how to keep it killed, you know.
Yeah, and government, you know, it's
yeah.
It's all on their end, and then you know, like anyway.
Yeah. I guess we probably don't want to bore the people with hearing all that negative shit. I'm sure they're sick of it.
Yeah, go listen to the records. It's a really seriously it's a sad time, but it was a kind of right timing. You know, where something healed the wound. It was like that for me, and I'm sure a lot.
Well, I didn't. Yeah, man. I mean, I didn't expect it to become like the uplifting record of the fucking virus outbreak, you know. But it's kind of taken on its own life at this point. That album, you know, our album. It's weird that that's what happened, but kind of is what's happening.
Yeah, and then you finish with Cheers to Ya. It's just like perfect, man. That was wow.
Yeah, thank you, man. It was fun. I'm really happy with it, man. Like I said, this many years down the road, I can't believe we put out in my opinion, what is our second best record, you know? So, very, very nice.
I think so too. There's a lot of elements, and I listened to it a couple of times, and I know I will find a lot when I will listen in the future. There's so much in it. It's really killer records. The artwork is amazing. Who done the artwork?
The singer of a punk ska band from Tokyo called Coquettish. Really cool punk ska band. We've known each other for years, and you know, our bands have toured together a ton. And he's a really cool artist, and I think he nailed it. You know.
Really, man, it's really beautiful. People go grab the records. It's on Fat Records, first records with Fat.
Yeah, man, pretty excited about that. I always wanted to be on Lookout Records with Fat Records. We just took 25 years, 30 years.
Fat Mike, you're slow, man. You should have signed them for the first records, but yeah, it's good.
You know what, man? We tried for Lookout and they turned us down, and in some other indies, and it just happened that we didn't end up doing. I don't know. You know, I don't know. Just things didn't happen or connect, and years down the road, I kind of met him and kept in contact, and there you go. We're on Fat now. You know, just kind of a perfect storm, like you said, on the perfect vibe, everything about it. You know.
And Jay, you have the perfect vibe. Thank you so much for being a radio human being. Thank you for your time and generosity, man. It means the world for us.
No, man. You know, thank you for being interested. Honestly, thank you.
You told me that the last time we met, and I was like, dude, you're so generous, but thank you, Jason. It's you know, there's so much people out there that don't want to hang with fans, and they just like, okay, we do the show and leave, and, you know, I'm more a guy who wants spend times and learn, and I